Hey, my name is Yolanda, and welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. Tune in each week as I speak frankly about life experiences from my perspective and offer you a bit of unsolicited advice. Let's take a little time to laugh, to think, and to cry as we tackle some serious topics and some not so serious topics. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Hey, welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. My name is Yolanda. Thank you for tuning into my show for another week and joining me for another episode. How is everyone doing? I am doing just fine. Having a great day so far. Having a not so good week. This is my first week back from spring break and I feel discombobulated. I am not together. Having a week off and not being responsible for anything and making that my mission isn't a good recipe for trying to go back to work. After 7 yesterday, I was up until midnight. When I did get home at 7, it was just a long day. It will continue to be a long week, and I still have 2 more days to go, so just pray for me, y'all. Please. Again, I think I told you all that if you follow me on YouTube, then you would know I haven't posted videos in a minute. I wanted to get an Ethernet connection so that I can connect so that my internet wouldn't be stalling like it's been doing. So I got the Ethernet connection. And if you are of a particular age, like I computer anyway, I already had one, but it didn't have that type of connection. So I had to buy another one. I finally got it. We're trying it out. But I think it's my modem. I honestly think we need a new modem. We did update our speeds, but the modem seems to still be slow. My son says that the Ethernet connection works for his PS5, but I don't really know how it's doing for me. So tonight it still seems like it's kind of spooling a little bit, but we shall see. Anyway, I'm trying it out tonight. We shall see. So now I'm ready to get into street talk because it is a lot going on.
Yeah, look, yeah, what's going on? Let me know.
Shannon Sharpe is what's going on where I work. My casting coverage is covering it. Every radio station is covering it. And of course, I have to cover it. It just is what it is. And it's interesting to me. And I always tell you, I don't want to talk about something unless I can bring a different perspective to it. It's no need for me to say the same things everybody else is saying, because then what makes you want to listen if you can hear the same commentary about the same subject from everybody? So, what can I offer that's different from the subject that I really haven't heard from anybody? So, if you have not heard, or let's back up, do you even know who Shannon Sharpe is? Now, I am not by any means a sports person at all. But I always knew who Shannon Sharpe was because he had a lot of memes. And my husband watches sports as well as my son. So I know he was on the little commentating show called with Skip Bailey. I don't know what it was called, but I knew that they talked sports and he was on there with them. And he was very opinionated, very strong personality. And then all of a sudden, Skip Bailey let him go. And then he got his own podcast. Now, before that, Shannon Sharpe was about I said basketball. See, I told you I don't know sports. He was a football player. My bad. And that's how, after playing, of course, he got into this sports casting or whatever you call it, commentary. I don't know that. So he got into that. So anyway, fast forward again, he now has his own podcast with Chad Ochocinco, who's also a former football player, and I think that he has some of the lawyer, a Buckby or something. Anyway, the lawyer who also tried to sue Jay-Z has a client. Her name is Gabby, and she's suing Shannon for $50 million. So everybody at first was like, okay, this is a money grab because it just came out that the man signed a contract for 100 million. So, she's trying to get some money. Well, some tapes, not tapes, audio tapes. Yeah, it's tapes. Audio tapes, as well as some screenshots of text messages, have come out. Now, in the audio calls, you can hear Shannon and this woman having a conversation. It came out that the young lady is a white young lady. Whether that matters to you or not, I don't know, but people have been talking, so we'll talk about it. She's a white young girl who happens to be 19, and Shannon is about 54, I think they said. I could be lying on that. Maybe he's 55, but he in his 50s, okay? And I know, Yolanda, you should have had the exact dates. I wrote down everything else I didn't think I would remember. So anyway, or I took notes, whatever. So anyway, he's like, it's a 30-year gap. So they're like, why are you messing with this young girl? The conversations clearly say this is a young girl. Even if you didn't tell me her age, based on her voice, I can tell that this is a young woman. And clearly they're into BDSM. Now, if you don't know what that means and you're like me, now I knew it was that kinky sex. I knew that. I knew that it's bondage and whips and chains. I knew that from the acronyms, but I never knew what it stood for. Now that I looked up. So it stands for bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism. I'm probably saying that word wrong because I didn't even know what it was, never heard of it. It is enjoyment of pain. I almost had it right. Yeah, it's enjoying pain. That's what that word means. However, BDSM is various sex practices involving restraints, power dynamics, and role playing. So now the first audio that and that you need that for context. So the first audio that you heard said that, okay, I hate, she said, you're manipulating me. Don't do that. And he's like, please don't say that word again. If you say that again, I'm going to choke the shit out of you when I see you. And then he goes on to say something like the headlines are going to read, big black man chokes small white woman. Now, if you listening to this call, it sounded as if this is what they do. You know how you and your boo thing got your little text messages or flirty things that you say to one another that kind of gets y'all's gills going. If you know what I mean, y'all grinds your gills or whatever. I don't know the term, but you know what I'm trying to say. That gets you going, gets the juices flowing, gets you hard if you're a dude. You get what I'm saying? So I think that that was their like sexy talk because she's into that. The text messages showed the same thing. It was like, I want you to daddy, I want to be abused. Can you abuse me? But then the text that seemed a little suspect was just like, I no means no, Shannon. I told you that you needed to wear a condom and not to fuck me in my ass. Excuse my language, guys, but you know, I'm trying to be report the news here. So that's what she said. So I think I saw that message first, and then so it made it seem as like, oh Lord, but she's being very specific. No means no. I told you I didn't want to do that. But then also you're recording calls. So everyone's saying that same thing. Obviously, this clearly seems like a setup. Who is Gabby? You may ask. Who the hell knows? It looks as though she's a OnlyFans model, and Shannon Sharpe hooked up with her. And I don't know if it was sex for hire or it was like, oh, she into the same kinky stuff I'm into, because normally these people promote what they're about and you are attracted to these people. Like they got OnlyFans for feet. Well, if that's what you're looking for, that's what you're going to put in the search engine when you get to that site. So I think Shannon is just into that. Remember when his sex tape came out and he was just like, yeah, that's Mama Michelle. That's Mama Michelle. So I think like he likes that. He likes to be the macho, man. So that is the perspective that I want to talk about when I'm now granted, like DJ Envy said on the Breakfast Club, it's not illegal for him to talk to a 19-year-old. However, morally, we look at that like, come on, man, you're a little too mature. It's not like it ain't no freaky 30-year-olds. You get what I'm saying? We would look at that a little different and be like, oh, okay, that's okay. It's do see kids 2 years removed or 3 years removed from high school. They see differences when it comes and pretty much be submissive and do that. Number one, everybody was mad that it was a white woman. Now, I'm not saying black women aren't into it. I'm pretty sure they are, but you can probably count on one hand, if you can count it all, a black woman that you you can spank, sometimes them people get real deep. It was a man a while back had died from that, getting some amateur girl to do that to him. So all I'm saying is that not many people are into that. So maybe that's why he dates the white girls, because they into some of that kinky stuff more so than we are. So it's easier to find them. Number two, if you are a woman of a particular age, the age that I'm trying to settle, I'm not trying to be out here pop locking, dropping it, flipping it, rubbing it down, telling you to bring it back. I'm not doing all of that. That is not necessary for me to hold on to a man at my tender age of 44. You understand? Now, R. Kelly's a little older than me, and I've already told that story. If you haven't heard how I felt about R. Kelly, I have a full episode on R. Kelly. Please go listen, because I have an interesting perspective on that as well. But back to Shannon and your life stage differences. So think about it this way. When you that means where you are spiritually, mentally, physically, and all of the above, right? And if you love the Lord, then yeah, you're gonna want to date someone that loves the Lord. If you are into the church and all of those things, then you associate and go with the people that are in the church. If you are older, but you keep your body, you keep in shape, then yeah, you want to associate yourself with someone. You're just not going to have that type of flexibility. So my grandmother and talk to guys based on my stage in life, not necessarily where I was mentally, and not necessarily clearly somebody my age, because they wouldn't have been able to do anything for me based on where I was. And so that's what I carried. And then when I attempted to talk to somebody my grinding, trying to get my life together, just got into college, and that was fine for him to be in and out of jobs and just kind of not figuring out himself, because I was still figuring out my life too. But then as I started to graduate and kind of just get things kind of solidified and building a home, and he was still with the street life and doing drugs and all that stuff, it just wasn't working for where I was in my life. And I knew that if I stayed in that relationship, it was just going to continue to bring me down. So I had to let go of that, not because I didn't love him. I loved him down. But at the end of the day, he just wasn't matching where I was in my life. And so that is the thing. And even though we may look at that when we're thinking about settling down, it also is the same when you're dating someone. If I'm trying to just have fun, I'm not trying to date somebody who is trying to settle down. And if you are a 54-year-old man, yet you are not ready and doing drugs, then you want to get with them young girls who's still in the club doing them same things. That is not the same. So I think that's where Shannon is. I think all of us do the same thing. It may not be to this extreme where you're dating someone 30 years older than you, but I think that we do it. And Shannon's, maybe he won't be messing with nobody else on OnlyFans. Maybe he won't go as young as 19, but I think he's going to learn what a non-dating that you're in right now, then you're not going to, I mean, no, you're not going to be exposed for nothing. We don't really do that. Or maybe we do. I don't know. That kind of crazy stuff. But we all do it. We all do it because we feel as though, okay, well, I'm not working at a decent job right now and I'm just working at the local retail store. Well, I don't really mind if I'm dating somebody that is selling cars for a living. Yeah, that may be a fickle business. It's up and down, but my job is up and down too. Sometimes my hours are cut. Sometimes I don't get it. You know, I'm part time or I'm full time, or they lay us off for a little while because business is slow, whatever, whatever. But then now, if I have a secure job and I'm on salary and I'm getting paid vacation days, and you still talking about your hours was cut, and it's just not going to work. We're not equally yoked, and sometimes that equally yoked doesn't necessarily mean financial. It doesn't necessarily mean physical. It just depends on what you got going on in your life at the moment. What you doing? If I know I have kids, then it's probably likely that I want to date somebody with kids. Y'all, it's not rocket science. It makes perfect sense. We're just not thinking about it that way, and it's just shocking. And yeah, it is some tea, as Shamar say, clock it. But um so I know that we were all, kind of taught to be conservative when it comes to age differences. And like Charlemagne, I don't know if Charlemagne said it. I don't know who said it. Like a lot of people say it's not that big of a deal when a woman has a huge age gap. That happens all the time. But it's just kind of taboo when a man has that type of age gap. I know, and when I talked about the R. Kelly situation in the past, I said the same thing about the age. Our great grandparents were getting married at 15, 16, and sometimes even younger. And they weren't marrying 15 and 16-year-olds. They just weren't. They were marrying 22, 25, 26 years old, 26-year-old men. You all have seen The Color Purple. When Mr. came to the house to get a wife, he said he wanted Nettie. And the daddy said, you can't have her. You just flat out can't. Now you can have Celie. She spoiled twice, but she good. She'll work for you. She'll cook and clean. At that time, based on their stage in life back in the day, those men needed somebody who was going to take care of the house while they went out and worked. That's what it was. You needed somebody young who could have a bunch of babies and would be able to take care of it. Why do you think our great grandparents had so many kids? We not had birthing children like that no more. They were having 10. My grandmother had 10 kids or 11. Don't get me to lie. I should know this because those are my aunts and aunties. But I think she had 11. Okay, don't quote me on that. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? But she started early. And then my aunt had a baby at 14. So when I say I had a baby at 12, my cousin had a baby at 13. This is kind of something that happened in the family, and people say, oh, you got to break generational curses. But it wasn't a curse then. It was what people did. It wasn't a generational curse because you had a young child. The only difference is, yes, they were married then. However, if right now as at 14 I married a 26-year-old, it'll be like, oh my god, why did their mama let them do that? Because her mama and her mama's mama and her mama did that, and it was okay. So I don't know, we want to be so traditional and we want to be about the culture and we want to keep what's ours, but is that old timing? Is that not culture? Is that not what we did? Why is it so taboo now? It's been happening, and we looked at our great grandparents now like, oh my god, my great grandparents were together since for 40 years. They were together for 50 years. I mean, longer than that really if they're your great grandparents, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. They've been together for 60 years. They never left each other. Okay, and you guys applaud that, but you somehow seem to forget how they got there. Okay, how did they get there? My grandmother never works, and again, she would just pray. I don't want to say pray. That sounds bad. She would get a husband that could provide for her because her job was to stay home and to watch the kids. We have gotten away so much from tradition, but we've also gotten really bougie and really like just full of ourselves that we are so far removed from that. We want to be so close to slavery and be like, slavery wasn't that far removed. But for sure, young girls marrying older men ain't been that far away from us. And we want to let that go real bad. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, just because they did it back then didn't mean it was right. It was, because who are we to say what's right and what's wrong? Two things can exist. Clock a broke clock is right at least twice a day. So just because you don't think it's right now, don't mean that they didn't think it was right. And they did. That was the thing to do. I just told you all, my grandmother said I needed somebody that was going to help me take care of my child. That is how they thought back then. That is what was right. You find you a man, you have you some kids, you get married, and you take care of the house. Now all of a sudden is, girl, you better have your own, because you don't want no man to be out here cheating on you and he gonna leave you and you ain't gonna have nothing for yourself. It has changed. Now that's not what I grew up on for sure, but because that's what I saw, I was like, oh no, I want my own. But where did I get that from? Like, because again, my mom wasn't like that, because she didn't get that from her mom. And yes, I do think that TV and we didn't really have social media, but like TV and movies and things kind of created that in your head, because you wanted to be this boss independent person, and I was always strong-willed and didn't want to answer to anybody. But I think that we got to put things in perspective, and like Envy said on the Breakfast Club, there really isn't anything illegal about a 19-year-old messing with a 54-year-old. And if we were back in the day, they would applaud the man for marrying the woman if he did, or and she would have had babies from him. Nobody would ever see anything wrong with it. He would have taken care of her. Now Shannon just tricking off. He ain't trying to marry them chicks. But it's been happening, and I just don't get how shocked we are about it. Like, even when I tell people how old I was, I got pregnant at 11 and I gave birth at 12, but Aretha Franklin gave birth at 12 too. And yes, when I saw that, I was shocked, but not because she had a baby at 12, because obviously I did. It was that it was Aretha Franklin, and I just didn't know that backstory about her. So there are things that's going to shock us, but we again have a tendency of being like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be, and you shouldn't be doing this. Says who? That's how we all are how we were raised. My favorite line. And that means that if you grew up thinking that that thing is okay, and you saw that, you were taught that, and this is how you're supposed to live. So you Mormon, if you grew up in a polygamy like in a polygamous lifestyle, then that's what you're going to know, and that's going to be what's okay for you. And you may not want monogamy and be in a one person relationship. You want multiple women, multiple men, because that's how you grew up, that's what you were taught, and you didn't see anything wrong with it. If dating younger girls is something Shannon is okay with, whether he was taught that or that's just what he likes because that's his preference, it doesn't make it wrong. It just means I don't agree with it, because people's life choices are just like their music. It is subjective, and we're not going to be able to please everyone. But it's not a Bible thing that says you can't date. Like, I don't we you get what I'm trying to say. There's nothing to say that, oh my God, you are wrong morally. And even if the Bible did say it, not everybody believes in the Bible. We still sometimes tend to forget that. We judge a lot of people based on the opinions on social media and the comments they make, because we assume that people are practicing the same religion that we're practicing, that people have the same backgrounds that we've had, that people of color share the same upbringing and culture. And that is just not true. I'll never forget, this lady from Haiti changed my perspective on what I thought about religion and what I thought about Black Americans, right? She was Haitian, and we worked at a call center together, and I was her trainer. And she was a Black Haitian who spoke English like she was a Hispanic person who just learned English, if that makes sense. And she was she had come, I'm in South Carolina. She came from Texas. So that is where she learned how to speak English. And she learned from being around a lot of Mexicans. And that's what she had told me. So it made sense. And it was really funny. And I'll just share this before I go into what she said. But she would be on the phone, and people would say, I want to speak to someone that's in America. I don't want to talk to a Hispanic and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, boy, this lady's skin tone is like a penny. She looked like me. She is definitely in America. But it was really funny because what you heard wasn't what you saw. But then she started telling me about her culture, and she started to ask me if I wanted a voodoo doll because her religion was voodooism. And I had never heard anything about voodooism. And now before y'all cut off, oh my God, no, Yolanda's into to demon worshiping and blah blah blah. I am not. I don't even know outside of what she told me about voodooism. However, it did change my perspective because this woman was the sweetest woman. And she would always invite to send me cocoa butter and all vitamin E, shea butter, all of these things from her country. So anyway, she would tell me about voodooism, and I told her what I thought because straight talk makes for straight understanding, right? So I said, all we know about voodooism is that it's pretty much like demon worshiping, and that you all do these things and put pins in the dolls and so that you can put curses on people. And she was like, no, that's not what it is. And the dolls are pretty much symbolic of showing love. It's almost like if your family gives you holy water or holy oil, and they pray over you with the oil, or they gift you a cross or something, and that's like symbolic of, Lord, it's a gnat in here, it's symbolic of that. So that's all that was. That's what the dolls represent. It's like because she wanted to give me one really bad. She was like, oh my God, I want a voodoo doll made. It was her way of saying, I appreciate you, I love you. But nah, I said no. But that was because of my own bias and the things that I was taught. But as I spoke to her and she started, and I don't remember everything, y'all, so because that been a long time ago, so I can't go into details about what they truly practice, but it's nothing demonic about it. And what she said was, do people from her country or people who practice voodooism do evil things with it? Yes, but she made a point. Does Christians not have things, who people who are Christian that do evil things? So it's almost like you're going to take a religion and say that all of it is this because some people within this religion do that one thing. I know people who pray and then cast spells on people, who pray and go to the gravesite and say they're sacrificing somebody. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like sacrifices weren't in the Bible and they sacrifice animals. These same people who put these curses and do all these things be sacrificing chickens and all that stuff. Because I know a lady, and I call her the chicken lady, that's from the same town that I'm from, who would do that, who would sacrifice chickens. If you went to her and be like, I want this man to love me, she would go to a grave site and summons up someone evil, pray, because it would be prayers, and she would bring in the Lord in Jesus' name, and she would sacrifice that chicken to that dead person and ask them to do all of that. And this lady was, from what she would tell you, was a Christian, and she didn't see anything wrong with what she was doing. So that's why I hate the judgment when people feel like their religion is, or they're an elitist because they worship something different than someone else. I just feel like, again, you are how you were raised, good, bad, or indifferent. So if we weren't brought here, because we know that we were brought here and stolen, we would probably, if I was from Haiti, be practicing voodooism right now. So I'm not going to say that somebody's religion is bad because I just happened to be born in a different place and was taught something else. Because had we still been in Africa, we may not be Christian. We may not believe in God and Jesus. We could be Muslim. We could practice in voodooism. We could be Catholic. We don't know. It would all depend on how we were raised. So I like to say that I believe in a higher being, and I was taught that that person is called God. That is what I believe because I was taught that. However, there are people in the world that were taught different things. There are people who experience different things in life. And frankly, the fact of the matter is that is what determines their character, their values, and their morals. And that is who they become at the end of the day. So I am not here to judge Shannon. I see and understand why he may be doing things that he's doing. However, he is old enough to have discernment, and he's old enough to make better decisions and protect himself better. So I hope that that is what happens in the future, and he does learn from this. But I do think that it was a setup. I don't know if I said that or not, but I do think it was a setup. I think that she was pretty much plotting on him from the gate because, as everyone said, who records calls these days? But anyway, y'all, that is my time. Until next week, I'll holla. Bye.